everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. Today we're talking to Reverend Stephanie Redfeather, and we're talking about her book, The Evolutionary Empath, a practical guide for heart-centered consciousness. So welcome.
Thank you.
I want to start off by talking about what's real for everyone right now, and that, we have this worldwide crisis with COVID. And you talk about something in your book called the spiral path, which I really found helpful in making sense of both what the spiral path is and the potential reaction that we can have to it, which is resistance, and how we move past that. So I was wondering if we could start off there about what
Mhm.
the spiral path is and then
Yeah,
kind of resistance.
yeah, absolutely. And so, what that requires is we have to turn the volume down on the left brain because the spiral path is a right brain nonlinear concept.
Hmm.
And in our very Western world, we've just been conditioned to expect things to happen in a linear order, one dimensionally, if you will. And so I just from personal experience for years, during my spiritual awakening and going through stuff, I'd be like, dang it, I went through that 10 years ago. Why is that up again? I thought I
Right.
got solved. Or, like how many times I would just berate myself, like, I thought I handled that. Why am I dealing with this again? And so an image that was given to me that I started using with clients and students is, if you draw a circle on a piece of paper, so a piece of paper is two-dimensional,
Hmm.
and you have a starting point, a dot or something, so you can mark where you are, and you start traveling around. You can think, okay, I'm making progress. Here I go. Things are moving forward. And then you're like, there's that spot again. And then you go around the circle. You think you're past, and you're like, there's that spot again. If you take that circle and you expand it into three dimensions, there is your spiral. And there is the answer, that when you add this different dimension, you take it out of the realm of the left brain linear and drop it into this multi-dimensional space, you realize you're not really hitting that same exact spot again. It just may feel like it. You're at the next octave, the next level. So you might be diving deeper into it, or you might, the other direction, a higher resonance of it. And so it's not that you're at that same spot again because you did something wrong the first time around. It's because you did it right the first time around. And now you're just ready for that next level of it.
Mm.
So that's one of the ways that I explain the spiral path. But it's really a metaphor for life, that things don't happen linearly. Things don't just, each house we live in is not necessarily bigger. Each job we have doesn't necessarily pay more. It's not just a one direction progression of things. It's up, it's down, it's around, it's cyclical, it's multidimensional.
Mm. Yeah, it's what I loved about what you wrote in the book is it's not only what you said, but which I think you said, the spiral path is a sacred marriage of the masculine, which is the linear, and then the feminine, which is the nonlinear path. And but you also, I love this, as you said, the spiral path is really an alchemical transformation map of shamanic consciousness. The spiral movement takes us through sequential experiences of symbolic death and rebirth on the pathway of changing something in our lives. Change travels in a circular motion of the spiral path, but it's more like orbits and circles, and each orbit moves us beyond the present situation to a more expanded level of awareness. That's what you're saying, like you circle around, but you keep on moving up higher in this three-dimensional plane up higher. So, and you said when massive change occurs in our life, we often experience multiple aspects of changing at a time. So I wanted to map that idea that you just talked about, and then what was in your book with what's happening with our current crises as a world. How do you map these two things?
Yeah. It's interesting we're having this interview today, because what's really been in my consciousness is that we are going through a global shamanic death.
Hmm.
You can, if you're not familiar with that term, a psychic death, a symbolic death that is happening at every single level of existence, the individual, the family, the community, the country, the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go through, like for anybody who plays with astrology, I have 4 planets in Scorpio. So I have a whole lot of force of will.
I relate.
And so earlier in my life, it was very much like, I'm going to put that square peg in that round hole. I'm going to make this thing, it's like, so it was like death cycle, to heck with death cycle. I'm just going to, trudge through it and forget it. Spirit has knocked me on my butt more than one time saying, no, child, this is the time to surrender. And I really had to get over what my left brain thought surrender meant.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not about giving up. It's not about that you lost. It's not about that somebody else won. It is a letting go of struggle. It is a letting go of all of the resistance to what is happening so that you can open to the gift of what is there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and in this global process that we're all going through, there is, just like the death of a person, there is anger and denial and grief, great amounts of grief. And especially for empathic souls like us, we are really feeling the global consciousness of all of these, kind of being in the throes of death right now.
Mm-hmm. I know this is kind of weird, but I'm going to read back each time passages from your book. It's like you talking to you. So you wrote, you can't escape your own death when a piece of us no longer serves our growth, whether it's individual or these concentric circles that you describe, all the way to societal, right? Individual, family, community, societal. When a piece of us no longer serves our growth, whether it's a belief system, a set of values, a habit, or how we view ourselves, we let it go. And you said to ask ourselves a hard question: what am I afraid of? What is underneath my resistance? Am I really resisting the thing, or am I resisting something I've made out of it? And then you talk about allowing and surrendering, accepting, being open, receiving, and trusting that this is a this is a graceful death versus kind of a what it sounds like you and I both do, which is like, no, I'm going to just gut my way through this because I cannot give up or admit defeat or be conquered. It's that's my masculine side, I think, that's coming out. But you say when we surrender, we are simply getting out of our way and making room. It does not mean giving up, nor does it mean suffering. So there's my reading you back to you. Now, what do you think about what you said in the book?
Right. Well, it takes practice to learn to die gracefully. And every time I go through a death cycle, and we go through dozens, if not hundreds, of death cycles throughout our life. Some of them are very small and minor, and some of them are so massive that it really reduces our world down to, how am I going to get through the next hour? Forget the next day or week or month or year. So there's multiple scales of death cycles. But whenever I feel one coming, or recognize I'm in one, I've gotten to the point where I can finally go, death, my old friend. Okay, there's that moment of and then I that time between and softening gets shorter and shorter each time for me. and I'm able to just go, okay, what do you have to share with me? Where are we going with this? What are you asking of me? And just come into relationship with that shamanic death.
I want to now I'm going to go to me. So when I was actually thinking about this part in the book for me, so what happened to me this morning was I woke up at 4 in the morning in tremendous fear of what would happen to our economy. And I woke up going, oh, it's about my kids. I'm like, no, it's not really about my kids. I think I'm just picking up the general fear of like what will happen. And it's coming out to me as like resonating with where I can relate to it, which is my kids and who are both in college. One who's a graduating senior, how is he going to find a job? And what about my other one who's younger? How's he going to find a job? So it kind of like escalated in this whole mega story of which like when my children, and I'm just going to map this reality to what you were talking about. So I need to let go of my children. They're going to college. Okay, I did a whole bunch of work letting go of them. Here it is coming circling around again. I'm like, this again? Okay. Their job is their job. I have nothing to do with this. Their economic viability and finding a job is really their path, not mine. I need to let go. And that's what I recognize today. And it's like, and it's just this continual, like, I have to let go. I have to let go. This is their life. This is their life. And and so that's what came up. Like, I'm afraid of them not being able to thrive in the world and survive, right? Which is I think as parents, we often feel responsible for teaching our children how to thrive. What is underneath my resistance? A fear for, like, am I doing the right thing as a parent? There's my ego. Or are they doing the right thing? Should I be coaching them to do the right thing? And am I basically that all amounts to, am I wrong? Am I doing this wrong? Am I not enough? I think I may not be enough, so I better do a whole bunch of things, mostly worry and be in fear. So, versus accepting that perhaps something wonderful is going to happen that I don't even understand. I can't comprehend. So, if I just allow and be open to that, and I literally just sat in meditation for an hour and a half this morning, just trying to, and then I realized, like, wait a second, as I was reading your book this morning, I thought, oh, I'm picking up something that's not even only mine. And that was kind of interesting. So, anyways, do you have any thoughts before we close? And then what I want to do in the next segment is talk about other people and how we can help them, because I'm probably not the only one going through this. Even whether you're an empath or not, there's just feelings that people are having, unboundaried oftentimes, and how we deal with those. But any thoughts before we close?
Well, we are all energetic beings, and so whether we identify as empaths or not, it is our natural energetic physiological makeup to perceive other people's state of being and state of mind. And so, of course, when things are heightened and intensified, we're going to be keying in on that. I mean, just last week, I woke up and I knew that I was feeling stuff that wasn't my own, and my field was clouded. And so I did ceremony to release those things, to clear my field so that I could hear what was mine. Because at that point, I could distinguish what was mine, what wasn't. I was feeling really emotional, very sad. And so, so I created this beautiful crystal grid and did some ceremony. And for anybody who was on my newsletter, I sent them a picture of it and kind of explained the process, that it doesn't, even though I might be a spiritual teacher, that doesn't mean I'm on autopilot or that I'm immune, because I'm human. That's the thing we got to remember, is we're all human.
Yeah.
And dynamic beings, and our energy and spiritual practices are very crucial.
I love it. We've been talking to Reverend Stephanie Redfeather, and we were talking about her book, The Evolutionary Empath, and what we're going through as a society, individually, with our families, which is this wonderful call to evolve, what our natural resistance could be, and potential ways to reframe the problem so that we see it as an opportunity. So, in the next section, we're going to be talking about what to do when we do feel overwhelmed by a lot of the energy that's surrounding us. So, thank you again. Reverend Stephanie Redfeather. Thank you so much.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show, and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.